What's going on, guys? I'm Cliff Jansen. This is It Any Good? With this video, we're going to talk about a sequel that's 40 years in the making, Dr. Sleep. This is a sequel to the 1980 film The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick. For those of you that don't know, Stephen King was not a big fan of that movie because he felt it changed too much from his book. As opposed to this being a book adaptation, it's kind of more of a sequel to the movie instead of being a adaptation of the book. But this story of this is it follows Dan Torrance after the events that happened at the Overlook. It focuses a little bit on him as a kid, but for the most part, it's him as an adult. He became kind of a drifter, an alcoholic, just like his dad was. But he ends up settling up in this small town in northeastern United States, where he starts going to AA, gets sober for about 8 years, and then through the shine he meets this little girl named Abra and discovers that she's being hunted by this group that eats the steam or the shine out of little kids that have it, and they're called the True Nut, and he kind of reluctantly agrees to help her to keep her safe. This movie had a lot of good in it. It's a good movie. I did not enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I was very excited for this movie. But for me, it's not like it's a bad movie is why I was disappointed with it. It's more of a personal opinion on how much they changed from the book. At the beginning of the movie, it kind of gets it back on track, so you think it's going to follow along with the book a little bit more than it does. I enjoyed the first part, even though a lot of people are saying it starts off slow. I enjoyed the first part a great deal. The performances in this movie are very good, except for one, which I'll talk about at the end. Ewan McGregor as Danny Torrance is fantastic. He does a great job showing this kind of tortured individual that's kind of dealing with the events of that happened at the Overlook when he was 5. Cliff Curtis plays a character named Billy Freeman. They kind of combined two characters here. So I enjoyed Billy Freeman from the book, so I'm glad they kind of made him a bigger character here in the movie. He helps get Danny sober, helps find him a place to live, gets him settled in, a new job. Kylie Curran, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but she does a great job as Abra, the little girl. She's how I pictured her powers, everything. She even knocks out, they describe a certain smile she has when she's kind of getting revenge on some of the True Knots. And her smile is exactly how I pictured it from the book. There's two standouts. One, I can't really go into detail about why he stands out because it's kind of a spoiler. But Jacob Tremblay, it's a very small part. His name is Brad, the baseball boy. But he does a good job with his performance. In fact, it's kind of hard to watch his scene because it's such a good performance that he puts on. I know the biggest standout for me, though, is Rebecca Ferguson. She's been in the last 2 Mission Impossible movies. She was one of the better parts that I enjoyed of Men in Black International, a movie that was otherwise pretty bad. But she plays Rose the Hat, the leader of this True Knot group, and she does such a good job. It's exactly how I pictured her from the book. She's scary. She became one of those villains that you love to hate. I thought they did an excellent job with her. As far as most of the True Knots, they do a good job of showing you how this group is in the book. The scares in this movie are actually very well done. It's not like relying on a bunch of jump scares. It's a bunch of tension building. Then something may happen, something might not happen. So when it does happen, it keeps you, it surprises you. It's directed by Matt Flanagan, who directed The Haunting of Hill House. So he knows how to direct. If you're a fan of that, you'll kind of like what he does with the scares here. That's the good. The bad for me is my personal opinion. I think it gets too far away from the book towards the end. Certain characters die that I felt that I didn't like dying. For me, it felt like he was trying to appease the Stephen King fans and the Kubrick fans, and it just didn't work. I kind of wish he picked one direction to go instead of trying to appease both. And then the main bad thing for me, though, is they have Henry Thomas, who played, him from Elliot from E.T., and he was also the younger version of the father in Haunting of Hill House. But they have him kind of do this impersonation of Jack Torrance, because at one point Danny kind of sees his dead dad. And it's just so bad. I'm so surprised that more people aren't talking about this, because it is a horrible impersonation of the Jack Nicholson role, and I just don't understand why somebody saw this and said, he's doing a good job impersonating Jack Nicholson. Let's keep this in the movie. It was terrible. That's my biggest gripe with this movie. Other than, for me, it got too far away from the book. I'm going to give Doctor Sleep a 7 out of 10. I do think if you're a big fan of the book, you're not going to enjoy it as much. But if you're a fan of the Kubrick movie, and I am too, you're going to enjoy, if you're just a fan of the movie, you're going to enjoy this as a good sequel to that movie. Like I said, if you're a fan of the book, you might not enjoy it as much as others. I do still think it's a good movie. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. Also, like and subscribe to the channel. I'm Cliff Chance. Thank you.